Welcome to Life Expressions. I'm Charie Ginete-Ilon. Here we talk about life's journeys and growth. Please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Today we will talk about building company culture, and I'm so honored to have this privilege to talk to the Business Person of the Year from Burnaby Business Excellence Awards. My guest is no less than Natasha Purnell. Natasha is the Chief Culture Officer at Park Insurance, where she orchestrates a symphony of employee engagement and satisfaction, consistently yielding remarkable scores that elevate their workplace environment. Her passion for building amazing workplace led to the inception of the Culture BootCamp workshop, where she empowers people leaders to drive positive business outcomes through culture. In fact, Natasha was recently recognized as a dynamic leader and visionary within her community by being awarded as Business Person of the Year from the Burnaby Business Excellence Awards. Welcome to Life Expressions, Natasha, and congratulations on being Business
Thank
Person of the
you.
Year.
Thanks so much. Thank you for your warm wishes and thank you for having me on the show. I'm super excited to be here chatting with you.
Yeah, it is my honor and privilege to chat with you, Natasha. Tell me, did you expect that award? And can you share a bit about your background and your journey in being the Business Person of the Year?
Yeah, so exciting. I did not know that I was going to win the award. So I did know that I was a finalist and so that there was an opportunity to possibly win. I was up against some pretty hefty competitors, though, who are amazing individuals and absolutely deserved every right to win that award as well. And so I was very pleasantly surprised, though, when, they pulled my name. It was sort of the whole Oscars thing, right? They do a video montage and then they open an envelope, and I got a little bit emotional and overwhelmed by the joy and happiness of it. So I was surprised, but it was a very exciting moment. So yeah, I'm still on cloud nine from it.
Of course, because it's a huge award. It's a great recognition by the Burnaby Board of
Mhm.
Trade and the whole community. But what inspired you to pursue a career in business and in being a chief culture officer?
Yeah, I think where my passion for culture really stemmed from was many moons ago when I was young. I owned my own restaurant and it was a quick service franchise. And I had no idea what I was doing. And I had no business owning a business. It was a entry level position job for many people, 17, 18, 19 years old, right? And I, employees in that age gap quite often don't really care too much about their employment, right? And so I was running this restaurant, and after some time was experiencing some challenges in terms of sales and revenue. And I knew I needed the staff to care about me. I needed them to care about me, and I needed them to care about my business. And so I had heard a quote from Sir Richard Branson that had said, don't take care of the clients, take care of the employees, and they will in turn take care of the clients. And it just sort of was an aha light bulb moment for me. And so I started having just organic conversations with the staff about, I need you to care about me, right? I need you to care about my business, but in turn, I'm going to care about you. And this is what I'm going to give you. This is what I'm going to provide you. This is how I'm going to mentor you. This is how I'm going to coach you and develop you, et cetera, et cetera. And in turn, this is what I want from you in return. I want you to be here on time and have a clean uniform and start to remember our guest names and what their orders are and give exceptional customer service and work fast. And so we sort of that's really where, and the culture back then, I mean, this was, 15, 16 years ago, that wasn't a big buzzword like it is nowadays, right? But what I started to see was some really positive business outcomes and some really great turnaround in those staff on a professional and personal level. And I had some people who worked for me for 5, 6, 7 years, which is unheard of in a, entry level position job. And so that's really where my love of culture stemmed from, was really this sort of this recognition and this aha moment that, when we're at work, we can have this mutually beneficial relationship that works for both of us, but we both have to be caring about each other and wanting to scratch each other's backs, right? And so that's really where my whole love and pursuit of culture kind of came from.
Yes. When you say taking care of your employees and win-win situation for the employees and the employer, how do you take care of them? What are the concrete steps that you do to make sure that they feel taken care of?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of it is, do they have the proper equipment that they need to succeed? Do they feel empowered? Do they feel like they're valued at work? Are they recognized? Do they have career plans and development? Is someone mentoring them and coaching them, right? Do they have opportunities to have fun at work? Do they have a best friend at work, right? So, just all of these elements that sort of provide them a platform to show up to be the best versions of themselves and to perform and have high amounts of productivity, right?
Yeah.
Quite often you see workplaces where they want people to perform at 110%, but they have outdated systems, or they don't have the proper equipment, they haven't had the proper training, no one's mentoring them and coaching them, and they're just expecting the staff to give 110% by divine immaculation, right? And it's just unfortunately not the reality of the situation, right?
Yes. So how would you describe the culture in your company now?
I would think at Park Insurance, our culture is, I do quarterly employment engagement surveys, and quite often I ask on the survey, just using one or two words, describe what the culture feels like at Park Insurance. And quite often it's family, right? Or caring, or friends, right? And I really do believe that that is how our culture is at Park Insurance. It really is like a family, right?
Yeah.
The culture is at a company is something more, it's not tangible. It's not something that you can touch or hold or hand over to you. It's a
Yeah.
feeling, right? It's that
Yeah.
feeling you get when you walk into a room or when you walk into a building, right?
True.
So I think that that's how we feel at Park Insurance, right?
Yes. And you have started a culture boot camp workshop. Tell me more about this.
Yeah. So, I mean, the silver linings of the pandemic was that a lot of us had a lot of extra time. And so it was a passion project of mine that I had been mulling around for so long. And, networking within my community and within my industry, I would have so many people say, wow, Chief Culture Officer, that's such a cool role. What do you do? And I'd explain to them sort of a little bit what my role looked like. And they said, well, how do you do that? Right? I want to have a better culture in my business. How do I do that? Well, I would love to be able to, impart all of my wisdom onto you within 5 minutes, but unfortunately I can't. And so I created a 6-week, 2 hours a week, just workshop for small business owners, entrepreneurs, people leaders, HR managers, anyone maybe who can't have the resources to have someone like me, but has some time that they could invest, and they care about their people and they want to create a more engaging and empowering and positive workplace. And so we cover, it's cheesy, but we cover what the 6 ingredients are to the secret sauce of building an amazing workplace culture.
Okay, what are the six?
The 6 ingredients. So
Yes.
the 6 ingredients are employee engagement surveys, because you don't know what to fix unless you ask your staff.
Mhm.
Communication, recognition, development, human resources best practices, and all the fun stuff that you can do.
Oh, I like that. All the fun stuff that you can do. There's
All
no
the fun
limit to
stuff.
that, I hope.
There's no limit to that. But I have the fun stuff being the last ingredient
Yes.
on purpose, because far too often, a lot of employers and businesses think that they can just bring in a ping pong table or happy hour beer Fridays, or, hand out some gift cards and do fun things and expect that that is going to improve or make better any less than stellar, workplace culture.
Yeah.
Quite often, unfortunately, a lot of cultures that are toxic, they just throw money at their staff and fun things at their staff, but they have no foundation built upon having a positive culture. And so while that might be a quick band-aid fix to have someone, have a little bit of, a bit of a dopamine kick and be happy, it's not a long-term solution. And so I don't even talk to the staff about, not the staff, the attendees of my boot camp about all the fun stuff that you can do
Yeah.
until you've built this foundation of building a really great platform for your employees to show up, and have the ability to be the best versions of themselves, right? And then you can have all the fun stuff. And you're right, there is an unlimited amount of fun stuff that you can
Yes.
do at work.
I'm curious about the employee surveys. Will that not be taken against the employee in case they say something about the management or about the company that they would like to be changed? What do you tell the workshop participants in this case?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you have to make the survey completely anonymous, right? And so the employees feel like they have a psychologically safe space in order for them to provide their feedback, right? And maybe it might take a couple cycles of you doing the survey in order for them to see that that is a psychologically safe platform for them to provide anonymous feedback, and
Yeah.
that there isn't going to be any backlash from it. But once you sort of continue to do those surveys on a regular basis, there's not, because you're gathering anonymous information. And then what you're doing is you're taking that data and you're making changes within your business. And then so that starts to build even more trust and psychological safety, because they say, oh, wow, Natasha asked me what I didn't like about working here at Park Insurance. And I said that, this pen was garbage. And so she got me new pens. And so I trust her, right? And so next time she asks me what she can do to make my workplace better, I'm going to definitely be even more honest and transparent with her, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's just, again, starting to build that foundation of that trust and that psychological safety, so they do have an area to tell you what they want and need to, and then you have to act on it. And that's always my caveat with the workshop, right? And I tell everyone, if you're not willing to dive into it, the good, the bad, and the ugly, just don't even bother asking them.
Oh, that's great.
don't
Yes.
ask people don't ask people what you can change to make better and then do nothing about it. Just don't
Oh,
even bother asking them then.
that's a great advice. If you get a survey, you have to act on their responses. That's wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How about communication, Natasha? How important is it? And what kind of communication should we cultivate in a
I
company?
mean, yeah, honest, open, transparent conversation. So I have two rules about communication. One is that clear is kind and unclear is unkind. And then my second one is that if you think you're over communicating, you're probably communicating just enough. People need to be told something 7 times before they even hear it for the first time. So, you really need to double down on that communication. I think that quite often, a lot of upset happens in workplace because there are changes that are happening. There's things that are coming down the pipelines, and as leaders and executives in the business, you think, oh, I'm just going to throw in this new technology and, they're going to like it and it'll be fine. But then you show up to work on Monday and you got this new technology and this new software you need to deal with, and you're all flustered by it and you didn't know about it. So you feel slighted about it, right? So just making sure that if you're communicating to the staff on a constant basis about transparently about what's happening, where you were, where you are, and where you're going in the business, then that brings down that level of like anxiety about change. Like, we don't like change, right? Like, as humans, we just don't like it, right? So you go into that fight or flight mode, right? So I think with communication, just always making sure that you're communicating honestly and transparently, and that's going to give you a huge win, right?
Yeah.
But making sure you're strategic about it, right? And that's something we talk about in the workshop, not just saying, hey, I'm going to double down on my communication. That doesn't mean sending 65 emails to your staff on a daily basis, right? It means being thoughtful and strategic about it, right? And having, an internal document that's planned out about who, what, where, when, why for, your communications.
That is so true, because employees should understand what's going on and should be made aware of where the direction should be of the company, because it is actually the fear of the unknown that
Of course.
unsettles a person, right?
Yes, very much
Yeah.
so, right? Yeah.
Yeah. How about you mentioned also recognition of the
Mm.
employees? Little or big recognitions are important. And how do you do it?
Yeah, I mean, all forms of recognition are so important, right? I mean, I think that, when we feel appreciated, we always do more than what is expected of us, right? And so recognition can come in the forms of anything that's either formal or organic and spontaneous. And it can be as little as a thank you for doing a great job on a post-it note left on their desk, as much to as an annual award for customer service excellence, right?
Yeah.
I think it's really important to make sure that managers, supervisors, leaders are recognizing their staff on a frequent basis.
Mhm.
There's a lot of stats out there. Most people go 50 days without being recognized by their manager, right? And that's a long time. And statistically, what we need in order to perform our best is recognition every 7 days. And so that's a lot, right? So, and a large part of what I do in my role is mentoring and coaching our managers and leaders in making sure that they are giving recognition and that we do have platforms to make sure that they're doing recognition. But the other part of recognition that's really important is peer-to-peer recognition programs. And those can actually be a lot more valuable than recognition from a manager. And that's because, as an employee, you on a even subconscious level kind of expect that recognition from your manager, right? You kind of expect them when you do a great job to tell you that you did a great job. But what you don't expect is to have your colleague who's sitting 3 seats down from you come up to you at the end of the day and say, hey, you know what, John? I heard you on the phone with that customer and he was really elevated and you brought him down to earth and you did a great job with saving that client and making him happy at the end of the conversation. Like, wow, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, developing those peer-to-peer recognition programs where the staff can recognize each other. And I love, love, love when you can take your values and create a peer-to-peer recognition program that rewards employees for living your values out loud.
Oh, I appreciate that. I truly would like to see that in a corporation, even small or big, because like being appreciated and recognized by your peer is a lot. It
Yeah,
inspires you more to do better. And I'm an
yeah.
advocate of that as well. You've mentioned values, Natasha. What are the values that you prioritize and you think are really important for a company to
Mm.
encourage their employees to have?
Oh, I mean, values can be, anything and everything. I've seen values from, being one word to being, 3 sentences long, right? I think what it is being able to go through, some sort of constructive exercise on your leadership team to determine, what your values and morals are as a company, right? At Park Insurance, we've been through this exercise a few times, and our values have stayed the same for many years. And they're passion, happiness, innovation, and teamwork, right? And so it's just 4 simple values that we really want to try to make sure that we're constantly living by, right? We're passionate about taking care of our clients and protecting them from unforeseen financial hardship in the event that they have, an insurance claim. So, properly protecting them. We are happy because we feel that every day is a joy and every day is a gift, right?
Yeah.
And we all deserve to come to work and be happy and spread that happiness and joy to each other. And innovation, I mean, that we are at a point in our lives where ideas and innovation just come flying at us all the time, and being creative is risk taking, and we want to challenge our staff to go out on a limb and share their ideas with us. We don't profess to know all the answers all the time about how to provide the best products and service for our clients.
Yeah.
They know that. And so we want their ideas and their innovation, and teamwork, because, we're stronger together than we are apart, right? So I think it's really just identifying as a company what your values are, and then defining those, and then constantly showing your employees what that looks like by the leadership and executive team living them out loud. And then also showing them how they can be rewarded for it, and recognizing other staff so they can see, oh, this, that this person did this, right? And this was living this value. And because they did that, they're going to get XYZ, right?
Yeah.
And just making sure that you're matching the reward to the recognition, and the recognition to the person, because not everyone likes to be recognized or rewarded in the same way, which is important too.
Yeah, sometimes a simple thank you or a simple word of encouragement is enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. It is enough. Right. But sometimes it's so large, it needs to be more than that. Right.
Yes.
And then there's some people who are, extroverted like me and don't mind being on podcasts and accepting awards and waving and shaking hands and kissing babies. But then there's also lots of people who don't like that and just would like to have their manager behind a closed door, profess to them how appreciative they are of them, give them a gift, and then walk away. Right.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure that you're constantly measuring what that is that your staff want.
Yeah,
And
you're truly a visionary in terms of cultivating culture and a business leader. But all business leaders had challenges and
mm.
yeah, failures in the past. Can you share a significant story or a challenge where you have tried to overcome and you rose above it?
Yeah, I mean, I think like that initial story I was telling you when I owned
Yeah.
that restaurant, I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't succeed. I ended up having to close that restaurant, and that was really challenging for me. And I took that as a personal failure for a really long time.
Mhm.
And, I really, I didn't want to take a chance again. I didn't want to be in a leadership, but it knocked the wind out of me for quite some time, to be honest, right?
Yeah.
But what happened over time was I started to see that what I had done there was all a learning experience for me. And not only that, but it became a stepping stones for so many other young individuals, that if I hadn't been there in that place and time and given them those opportunities, who knows where they would have been.
Mhm.
And, I had someone who worked for me from day one. He worked with me until the very last day. He was the
Wow.
last person who walked out the door with me when I closed and locked the doors for the last time. And he's moved on to own a very successful moving company, and he's called me many times to ask me questions and give him coaching. He's taken the workshop, and when we talk, I still communicate with him. It's been over 10 years since I closed that restaurant, and
Yeah.
he'll say to me, when you were talking to me, there'd be so many times he'd be talking to me at the restaurant, and he goes, I'd have no idea what you were talking about. He goes, but then I go and I sit in this meeting with these people or that people, and he goes, and they start saying things that you were saying. I'm like, oh, I get that. And he goes, then I have something to bring to the table and share for that, right? And I have lots of heartwarming stories that I could tell you that are just like that, where,
Yeah.
helping a young man who, started off as a delivery driver with me, and then and helping him move through getting his Red Seal chef certificate, right? And now working in very successful restaurants. So, so I think that was, I had to, I had to fail in order then to let them go to move on to do bigger and better things, right? But, my work there was to learn about how to build an amazing workplace culture, how to cultivate that, how to retain it, how to build upon it, and have those really great connections with so many amazing young individuals.
Yeah. What do you think would be the result if a company cultivates a positive culture?
Oh, I mean, so many things. So, I mean, if you cultivate a positive culture, they're going to have great buy-in to you. So they're going to show up and say, hey, you know what? Natasha cares about me. She really goes out of her way to take care of us. So, you know what? When I'm in these four walls, I really want to make sure that I go above and beyond. And so a lot of the times I can show you tons of stats on this stuff, but you can have an increase in revenue, an increase in productivity, an increase in profitability. I mean, I don't know one CEO that doesn't want to have more profits, right?
Yeah.
You can see higher sales metrics, right? So they're selling either more or they're selling to more people or a combination of both. And then what you can also see is a lot things go down. So lower absenteeism, right? We all know that it's challenging when we have employees who are sick in the workplace, right? But happy people are healthier people.
Yeah.
And so there's lower absenteeism, lower turnover. I don't know a single industry right now that's not struggling with hiring talent and retaining them.
Mhm.
And so that, so lower turnover within your business and lower accidents, lower defects, lower theft, right? So there's a ton of stats online about what a positive, workplace culture, what amazing business outcomes it can have for you and your bottom line.
Yeah, yeah, right. Amazing results for a company that
It's
has a positive culture. Natasha, you have mentioned that we are sometimes afraid of change, but how does a company, shall I say, face changes, especially in this world where, change is inevitable?
Yeah. I think it goes along with having, having hard conversations, right? And like I said, being clear is kind and unclear is unkind, right? And I think a lot about, I get asked for recommendations lots on how do we bring people back to the office, right? And so there's another big change, right? This inevitable, right? Or this fear, this unknown, right? And it's really about talking to people. It's really that communication aspect of it, right?
Yeah,
Is, what's worrying you? What are you hesitant about? What are you scared about? What can we do to make this a more positive experience for you, right? If you're talking about bringing people back to the office or implementing any change within your business that people are hesitant about, it's finding out from them why they're feeling the way that they feel, communicating to them why you want to make these changes and why it's important to you, and then getting feedback on that. And quite often, if you just have these conversations of like, hey, I'm here and you're here, how can we meet in the middle? Usually this is where the changes that you want to have happen anyways, right?
yeah,
But far too often that's not the way it is. It's this like, I'm the boss and I'm telling you we're making these changes and you better like it, right? And then people are like inevitably like, no, I'm not going to like it because you told me I have to like it, right?
yeah,
So but if you have a conversation with them about, why they're worried about what they're worried about, and then, and then accommodate those worries, right? Or, talk to them about it and fix them,
yeah.
then quite often you can have some really great results from that change management.
Yeah, that's amazing. Natasha, for sure, a lot of people are looking at you today being the business person of the year. Um, how does your company extend its positive culture to the local community?
Uh, well, I think obviously, I mean, they've allowed me to have this platform to go ahead and do the workplace the Culture BootCamp, right? And that's allowed me to, go out into the community and to talk to small businesses and help coach them and mentor them in how to be, better places. We've hosted, after hours mixers at our offices before, which are attended by local businesses for the Burnaby Board of Trade and the Burnaby Heights Merchant Association. And those are always opportunities for me to be able to talk to people about workplace cultures. And they just, like I said, they allow me to come on podcasts like this and talk to amazing, wonderful human beings like yourself, right? That
Thank
want to
you.
spread the word
Yes.
about, building amazing workplace cultures. And I've been asked by the Insurance Institute of BC to be their keynote speaker for their symposium in April about culture. And so it's just really, honestly, they've supported me and in our community and allowing me to just be out there and do what I do. I was born with the gift of the gab, and I can talk about
I
culture
agree.
all day long. And I really just honestly, truly feel that everyone deserves to show up to work and enjoy themselves, whether you're an employer or an employee. And it's just made it my mission to try to impart my wisdom and what I've learned onto as many people, whoever will listen to me.
Oh, I'm sure a lot of people will listen to you and would love to continue listening to you, Natasha. But on a personal note, what motivates and drives you every day?
What motivates me every day? I think the joy that I see in my employees' eyes when I do, a lot of the fun stuff we were talking about, when I see the results from our employment engagement surveys and I can see, I made changes last quarter and I can see that they've had a positive outcome, right? When I talk to our staff and they say, I love working here, right? And, this has given me the platform to do XYZ, or, we had a young woman who had during the pandemic moved here from Ireland and had never worked in insurance and just started off to basically in admin. And now she's a full-fledged broker selling house insurance and she's just slaying it right now. And, so opportunities like that, that's really what motivates me to continue doing the work that I do. And then we just get to have a lot of fun. So that super motivates me. We do lots of fun things at Park Insurance, like Christmas in July and recess at work day. And, at the end of the year, I always do a recap and ask everyone what their most memorable moments of the year were. And I put together a yearbook that I publish for everyone. And just, reading through all the amazing, memorable stuff that we do that creates opportunities for us to, connect and enjoy ourselves and each other in life is just definitely another thing that motivates me, keeps me going.
It's wonderful. If there's one or two advice that you could give to aspiring entrepreneurs or business leaders, what would that be?
One piece of advice, I think it's just to care about your people on a professional and personal level, right? Uh, and I think sometimes that's hard. I think a lot of entrepreneurs sometimes struggle with that personal piece. They're like, what do you mean? You want me to go into their house and make them dinner? And it's no, that's not what I mean, right? And just being able to think a little bit outside of the box about what that means, because our personal and professional lives are so intertwined, right? If we're not doing well in our personal lives, it's hard for us to show up to be the best versions of ourselves in our professional life, and vice versa. If we're struggling professionally, it's hard for us to show up to be the best versions of ourselves on a personal level. And so I really challenge a lot of entrepreneurs to think about how you can provide that platform to show up to be the best version of themselves and take care of them on a professional and personal level.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, we would all want to be the best versions of ourselves.
Of
But
course.
yes, but for business leaders, if they would want to avail of that culture workshop or boot camp workshop, how and where could they contact you?
Yes, of course. So always follow me on LinkedIn. I post a lot of the really fun and exciting events that we do on there. And things that cost no money to things that do cost money. I got lots of really crazy ideas that I always run wild with. And so I think that those are always good for entrepreneurs to follow. I've heard from lots of people within my community and industry that, oh, I saw this and we did it at our office too, and it was a big hit. Love that. That makes me super happy. And then you can also find me on my website, culturequeennatasha.ca. And I have a blog there talking about, some strategies that you can implement within your business to build an amazing workplace culture. And you can find all the information about my upcoming workshops there.
Wow, that's great. Thank you so much for your time, Natasha. And I truly
Thank you.
appreciate what you have shared with me here on this podcast. If you like this episode, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And if you feel generous, please share this with your network, or with your friends. Once again, Natasha, thank you so much for your time and for
Thank
sharing your
you.
knowledge and
Thank you
insights.
so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
It is your decision to build a positive culture in your company. So take that advantage. I'm your host, Charie Ginete-Ilon. Till next time, here on Life Expressions. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from me, you can follow me on LinkedIn at Charie Ginete-Ilon. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.